Knon 89.3 FM in Dallas and Fort Worth, the voice of the people.
Business owners, tell KNON's listeners about your business. You can put your business or event on KNON. KNON currently has space available to run announcements for you. Tell KNON's listeners about your goods, services, nightclub, concert, or event. Help keep the voice of the people on the air while putting your information on the air. KNON's been named the #1 radio station in Dallas by both the Dallas Observer and D Magazine. Put your business with Dallas's #1 station. Call now for more information at 214-828-9500, extension 227, or extension 233. For more information, go to knon.org and click on the Run Spots on KNON page. It's a great way for your business to support community radio while letting more people know about you.
Good morning, it's the Workers Beat. 972-647-1893 is the number. We just love it when you call.
Yes, we do. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Man, it is raining.
Bonnie Mathias from CWA 6215.
Yes.
I'm G. Lantz from UAW 848.
All right.
Brothers and sisters in the union movement.
That's right. That's right.
Today, I don't know how they're going to do this in the rain,
I don't either.
but they are supposed to meet at the Walmart in Lancaster.
Yeah.
Now, the address is on Beckley Road. I don't know exactly how they get that because it's right on the highway 35. They're supposed to meet at the Whataburger at 10 o'clock. I don't think Bonnie and I are going to make it because we don't get through here until 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
Eat black-eyed peas because you cannot afford to mess around with the black-eyed pea mystique.
That's right.
So on New Year's Day, you're going to get caught with your pants down if you don't have black-eyed peas in your pantry. Your pantry
that
will be
almost
down.
sounded really kind
Your pantry will be down if there's no peas in your pantry.
I gotcha.
So get them this weekend and have them on New Year's Day.
That's right.
Today's winter solstice.
That's right. Today's the 21st.
So I'm not sure who it is that worships that, but there's plenty of reason to celebrate. For one reason, it's the darkest day of the year, and so it's supposed to get lighter.
Thank gosh. You know, I hate it because if you go to work early, it's dark. If you come home late, it's dark. It's dark, and you don't see the light of day.
Of all the dark news, this is the darkest.
No.
Dallas has been caught with their pantry down once again.
About over the HUD thing?
Yeah, over the HUD thing. Maybe you can explain it?
What?
We don't want to have Jim Schutz. If Jim Schutz were still on KNON,
that's right, you would
know all there is to know about this, because I think he broke the story.
It's quite possible.
And I'm sure he understands it better than anyone.
It's a pretty interesting story. There was a couple guys that wanted to rehab a building downtown and make a good share of it affordable housing for people who actually work downtown. You know, like working folks, not the executives, the working folks. And the city, my understanding is the city really didn't like that idea very much, so they gave them, we really don't want you to do that. So anyway, they ended up filing a complaint with Housing and Urban Development, and they kind of picked up the mantra and have conducted an investigation over the last 2-3 years and found that Dallas has issues with building affordable housing for poor people.
That's a really very nice way of putting it.
I know, isn't it?
What it is, Dallas has been accused. Dallas has been accused and proven.
Yeah.
To be racist in their housing.
I know. So many people will find that shocking.
Well, they do so good at cover up in Dallas. They spent months and months covering up the Kennedy assassination and trying to make themselves look good, and then this happens.
Yeah.
Here's the official version. The U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, that's HUD, has accused Dallas, one of the nation's largest cities, of violating civil rights law through housing practices that discriminated against Black, Latino, and disabled residents. HUD officials laid out the results of a 4-year investigation in a letter sent to city leaders late last month. HUD found that Dallas, which accepted tens of millions in federal dollars with promises of using that money to help integrate the deeply divided city, had instead, quote, subjected persons to segregation and, quote, restricted access to housing choice. The city, the letter said, had denied local residents opportunities to participate in housing programs because of race, national origin, and disability. So, There it is.
That's the clean cut, clear to the point version.
So the question is really, is Dallas still a very, very racist city?
I can answer that as I believe it is.
We know that historically it was.
Yes.
Because there's a book called White Metropolis. It's all about Dallas from its very beginnings to today. That it's always been a deeply, sickeningly racist city. The question is it still? Because you can just almost smell the whitewash coming from the Dallas Morning News now. This is for the next several months. We're going to be treated to pictures of some happy black person shaking hands with the mayor or something. And
I know, right? That's exactly what we can look forward to.
Yeah,
because we want to make sure that everybody around the world knows that Dallas is not a racist city.
Yeah.
But if you live here for any amount of time, you will understand that, and you're sensitive to that. Because some people are not sensitive.
They're better at hiding it than almost anybody.
Right.
This is the only city, for example, that disinvited Martin Luther King.
Yeah.
Where the black ministers actually asked Martin Luther King not to come to Dallas.
Because the white community pressured the black pastors of the city to say no.
Yeah.
We don't want you here.
It was very disappointing. He came anyway. 972-647-1893 is the number. If you have an opinion, I guess the question is Dallas a racist city?
Right.
And I'm sure people have an opinion on that. I didn't like Dallas for a long time. I'm an Okie, and most Okies don't like Dallas because of getting whipped every year here in the Cotton Bowl. And then I lived in Houston, and the Houston people don't like Dallas. So when I came here, I was
you had predisposed
full of anti-Dallas. But I've gotten very fond of it.
I love Dallas.
I've
really
gotten
do.
to where once you know the people here and the struggles, they're just so well hidden. The people that have done the heroic things in this area have been sidelined and kept out of the public eye.
That's right.
And so that you don't even know
the real history, the true history of the city.
true history of the city, the true history of the working people.
That's right.
972-647-1893. If you have an opinion, Bonnie and I would be eager to hear it.
Yes.
I think we pretty much agree that Dallas is and always has been very racist.
Yeah, I think there's been great strides made in the southern sector of the city around the subject of racism, but as far as the northern sector of the city, I still feel that it's pretty white.
Let's see what Marjorie has to say. She's on line 4. Thanks for calling KNON, Marjorie.
Okay, good morning. I think that, of course, I've lived in Memphis for several years, and it's also very racist. I think probably there's not any non-racist city in this country except maybe in New England, the upper Midwest, or Pacific Northwest. I think Memphis is the worst, but yes.
I've heard that before. I've heard that before from people in Memphis.
Yes,
that it was the worst.
It is the worst. But there is a big problem here. The formation of the group Mothers Against Police Brutality painfully demonstrated that, because over 60 unarmed African American people have been shot by the police, not by some weirdo, but by the police. And recently, one was shot he was in trouble. He had taken something that wasn't his, but he had his hands up. He was unarmed, and a cop shot him anyway. And the poor slob was in critical condition. So I agree, but I did want to touch very quickly. The weather's kind of sloppy today, and I wanted to say all the protests scheduled for the day have been canceled or postponed.
Does that include the Walmart action out in Lancaster?
I just got a Facebook message saying that been canceled, and they have not rescheduled it yet.
Okay.
So don't try to go down to a Lancaster today. Colby Harris with our Walmart will have to reschedule it.
Okay.
But at noon there was supposed to have been a protest against the Federal Reserve. That has been rescheduled. It's going to be Monday at 5 p.m. in front of the Federal Reserve, which is on Woodall Rogers, across the freeway from the Art District, and Caddy Corner from Clyde Warren Park.
5 o'clock.
Marjorie, why are they protesting the Federal Reserve? Does this have to do with them stopping the stimulus?
Well, they've been. Well,
or is this
every
just
economic crisis we've had over the past century has been instigated by the Federal Reserve.
Well, this is just people that are against the Federal Reserve all the time. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, and there was supposed to have been a surveillance protest day, and that's been rescheduled for January 11th.
Okay.
At 5 p.m. at the Grassy Knoll.
Okay.
And all these reschedulings have been because of the weather, because there's really not much you can do when it's coming down rain. So I just want to let people know, not waste gas or waste bus fare or waste their time.
That's very good.
So much, Marjorie.
Can you kind of wind it up, though? There's people waiting.
Yeah, we got a whole bunch of people.
We'll talk later. All right.
Thanks, Marjorie. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Marjorie. Let's put Joshua on. He's been waiting. He's on line 1. Thanks for calling KNON.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi, yes, I heard the story about the investigation against the city earlier this week. I was listening to KERA one morning, and I found it very interesting, the solutions that were being proposed by, there was a study of a city. Does Oak Cliff have its own city councilor?
They have.
We have independent city council persons in separate districts.
So I think one would be Scott
We have
Griggs.
single-member districts.
Yeah, Scott Griggs is one in the Oak Cliff area.
I heard one of them stating that one of the ways to, his reaction to the study by HUD finding that low-income people had been basically segregated to particular areas, was that he wanted to bring more middle and high-income housing to Oak Cliff.
Yeah. Right? Everybody wants middle and high-income.
Right. We just like to have the people that have salaries that can support that middle and high income.
What's the poor people? It's the poor people.
Where do the poor people go?
Right. I found it's just really
convoluted.
All I can do is laugh, right? Other than you don't want to cry. So, but I think it'd be interesting for people to, if folks are. The report is here. The investigation, I guess, results are in. So, I guess the next step is well, what do we start to?
You're new in this area, aren't you, Joshua? So what's your initial reaction? Do you think Dallas is a racist city?
Well, yeah, I think racism is everywhere in the United States and other places in the world. So yeah, it's there, but there are also strong anti-racists in Dallas. So
very true.
They just don't get any publicity,
right?
Right. Well, we're here are 3 of them at least. So,
That's right. That's right. Good point,
listeners. So I think I don't know. I wouldn't. I think there is racism in Dallas, but there's also egalitarianism. So
okay. All right. I appreciate your opinion.
Thanks, Joshua.
Let's go to Mike on line 2. 972-647-1893 is the number. Good morning, Mike. Thanks for calling KNON.
Good morning. How are y'all doing?
Good.
Good. I really enjoy your program. I start off listening to the Reverend before y'all, and it really starts my weekend off good.
Good.
I really appreciate your efforts to inform people. I'm a Dallas native. I've been here since '57, and I don't know if it's. I think that there's a lot of, Dallas is built on mercantilism. It's the big money, money talks and BS walks, kind of this old saying, around here. And
we have lots of both.
But, I've seen a lot of development I've had, I'm at poverty level. I've been for many years now. I don't really, what I find hard to understand, it seems like there's a war between a battle that the poor are never going to win against the development. So I've seen so many lower income single family dwellings are what makes the city. It's a single family home is more important than a hotel or a shopping center or a Walmart or anything. Right. That's where the family is, and the best and most beautiful cities have wonderful mixed single family areas, and that have escaped development because Dallas is still a boom town. It just booms and booms, and it seems like the poor do get run out of areas. And I've asked myself, where do we go? In my life, I've had 4 apartments. 3 of them are demolished. A drug dealer gets in, they call it a crack house, and they want to tear it down and build 4-story places for wealthier people.
Of course.
And I just kind of gotten used to the fact that I'll probably never, I'll probably have to move again sometime. I've got a good place now, and I'm on a limited income disability, and it's just that, I wish that the wealthier people in Dallas could understand that there are many, many decent poor who want to I don't know why there has to be such a separation, why neighborhoods have to become so affluent and run the poor people out. Why not let the government build some things for us, poor people, and let us live alongside the wealthy? We have a lot to contribute. There are a lot of, it's not my fault. I didn't make it, really. I just, it's kind of luck plays into whether you're going to have money or not and be able to keep up with Dallas and how it goes, and to be able to do all of the, go to the new museums and theaters and operas and all these things I've never been to. When our public, even the parks, so there's no place for the children to play. The park over here in East Dallas, which has I found a really nice, it's old, but kind of run down, but it's nice. I've made it nice on the inside. I always have. There's so many poor people who really lead good lives.
So poor people are really not that bad, huh?
Yeah, poor people
are really,
The question before us, though, is Dallas is accused of taking a bunch of federal money that was supposed to help poor people, and they used it to help rich people, basically.
Well, that's a shame because they have plenty of their own.
Yeah, they sure do. Well, we appreciate your call, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
Okay, well, y'all do a good job, and I hope you have a wonderful holiday.
Thanks so much.
Same to you.
Happy winter solstice. Happy Hanukkah.
Happy Hanukkah.
Okay.
Merry Christmas.
Well, bless your heart. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to take a break, but call us at 972-647-1893. We love Saturday.
Yes, we do.
Come and live it with us. 972-647-1893. We've been talking about racism in Dallas, and so far, everybody called and said, "Yeah,
it is.
It's racist." But I know 2 of those callers, and they are from out of town.
Okay.
So that's like their first impression is, yeah, it is racist here. White people in the South are not as aware of racism as one might think.
You're right. They're not.
For example, housing is so segregated that one can live in a town for years without ever knowing that there's another section of town where all African Americans live.
Yep, that's very true.
And not even know that, unless you happen to be a late night carouser.
Or you get out of your comfort zone.
Well, yeah, because the white joints would shut. In my hometown, the white joints were all pretty well closed at 10.
At 10, yeah, but
if you went across the tracks, you could party all night.
Right.
That's what I did.
Well, and it used to be that there used to be clubs here and there very well may be still in South Dallas, where, the clubs close at 2, and these folks were BYOB, and they were open till 6 o'clock in the morning.
Going all out.
Yeah. Dancing and partying, and they'd sell setups. You had to bring your own
There was
bottle,
there was a certain broadening, for me anyway, as a Southern white kid. There was a broadening. The fact that I was kind of a drunk was a broadening experience.
Well, yeah, because you wanted to party, and you had to go where the party was.
I would not have known any African Americans because I came from a totally segregated society. They bussed us past the black school. They bussed us from way out in the country, through town, past the black school, out to the white school. And so I knew no African Americans until I was 14 and started drinking.
Wow.
And then after I started drinking, then I started meeting the rest of
cool people,
the rest of the town. Yeah. And I did meet some. I remember, for example, John Henry Clark owned a little restaurant called the Blue Light Cafe, and it was open all night. It was just a restaurant, but you could make contact there with somebody that was selling white lighting, and you could bring it back to the restaurant.
Oh.
But anyway, John Henry Clark had just gotten out of the Army, and he was quite the desegregationist person. And he was a great influence on me when I was 14 or 15 years old.
That's pretty cool.
Made all the world. He was someone that I looked up to tremendously. He was he was only 21 or 22 himself.
Right,
he just got out of the military.
But he'd been in the Army and seen the world, so to speak.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
He was nice enough to talk to me, even though I was completely stupid.
Right. As most of us are at 14.
Yeah. John Henry Clark, if you're out there and you're listening, I just want to extend my thanks. This is the Workers Beat, 972-647-1893. I'm going to change the subject unless somebody wants to talk some more about racism in Dallas. I want to talk some about economics.
Ooh, that kind of goes right in with this,
it's funny you said ooh, because what we're taught in economics is boring, It's really very, very hard to get your mind around, and tremendously boring, and not something that anybody wants to talk about.
But
and yet at the same time, we're suffering from it all the time. It's like a spear that's been rammed into our side.
It's horrible.
And it's killing us. We're bleeding to death from it all over the place.
Yeah.
We don't know anything about it because every time we go to try to learn something about it, we get these long, boring, crazy lectures. Well, the AFL-CIO has a policy now that they want everyone to become educated, and they want all AFL-CIO centers to become learning centers.
That's great.
And so one of the topics that I'm hoping to take up in the Dallas AFL-CIO is economics. I'm reading the AFL-CIO's formal economics book, which is called Economics for Everybody. And it's not a hard read at all.
It's not?
No, it's not a hard read at all.
So it's not real boring.
No.
Doesn't go off into the abstract.
Not exactly, no. But it's going to have it won't overcome your prejudice against economics. Because if you think economics is boring and you start this book, you might like the book the first few pages, but it's economics.
It's boring.
So you're going to start thinking, well, this is boring. But the truth is, there's a side of, if something is threatening you, the way economics does threaten us, then we should learn something about it. And the reason that it's boring is that we never study our economics. We only study the bank's things from the bank's point of view.
Right.
They're the ones who write all the economics textbooks. They're the ones who issue all the awards and all of the honoraria and everything else to certain economics professors. And they want the ones that only talk about economics from the bank's point of view.
And we have to think about it. Those are the same people that write the textbooks about history.
Sure.
And that's why there's nothing in there about unions, about unions and working people, and very little about the civil rights movement.
Yeah.
I'm shocked.
If I don't find a history book, if it doesn't mention LMA Wiggins, then it ain't our history.
I'm just amazed.
It's somebody else's history. If you don't know who LMA Wiggins is, you haven't studied history yet. You studied their history. You studied what they wanted you to study.
Right.
But you have not studied our history yet.
And it's important.
If you don't know these things. 972-647-1893. You may have an opinion, and this is the place for it.
That's
Community radio. They love it when you call. You know, I keep saying they love it when you call. We love it when you call, too.
You call.
I mean, we like to hear about it.
We like to. We want to hear your opinion as well. I mean, it's just not about us.
I think one of the best calls we've had in some time was from last week, when some guy called and told us that we were sick and degenerate, and basically just chewed us out for 30 minutes there.
Yeah, he wasn't very happy.
Yeah, but he won't call again, I know, because he said that he will never listen to us again.
Yeah, and he should probably stick with the music programs.
Well,
I'm just saying, yeah.
I don't know. There should be dialogue between people.
Agree.
How are we going to learn anything if we don't talk?
But you know, some people don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
Because they have their mind made up of how it is and how it should be.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much.
Well, the truth is, we all have our minds made up, you know, and we need input from other people to think about it. Here's a little economics. This is not really the background of economics, but it's just the situation today. There's a group called Economics Policy Institute, and they put out the 13 most important charts for the past year. You know, a chart for them is a graph.
Okay.
So they had different graphs, and they had 13 of them, and I took them all. It would probably bore everybody to death if I got into all of them.
Does it show income? Do some of them show income equality?
Inequality.
Oh, inequality.
Yeah,
right.
Tremendous inequality. The problem, I guess, when you summarize all 13 of them, you learn this, that the recession is nothing new. We've had lots of recessions in America, and the one we're in now is what we call the Great Recession. And I think everybody agrees it's the Great Recession because it's now the longest recession that we've ever experienced.
Started in 2007.
Yeah, and it was officially over in 2009.
Really?
But for working people, it's still going on very much.
Over in 2009, huh?
So
who did it get over for?
The reason that this one has been so long and so severe is that normally when they have a recession, it's followed by a bunch of government spending, a bunch of public spending, which tends to get jobs going again and get people back in.
Yeah, like the WPA and things like that, right?
Yeah. Well, it's not, you know, WPA was kind of a drastic case during the Great Depression.
Right.
But I mean, just in any recession, it's followed by a lot of public spending, and people tend to get their jobs going and get the economy going again, and you know, it goes up and down.
Sure.
And that's the business cycle, and we always have it. It's just part of capitalism.
Part of capitalism. That's
built
right.
into capitalism to have these ups and downs. The reason this one is so bad is because the money did not. There was not public spending.
Right.
The money all went to the banks and the big corporations, and they did not reinvest it.
No,
they are sitting on it. They have trillions and trillions of dollars that they're just sitting on. If they had reinvested it, there would have been jobs, because investment leads to new jobs. Or if the government had taxed it and spent it in public works, then there would have been jobs.
There would have been jobs. And President Obama has a jobs bill.
They've advocated it.
Yeah.
The Democrats have advocated it, but truthfully, they just haven't been able to overcome the years since Reagan was elected. Ever since Reagan was elected, this government has operated on the premise that if you give money to rich people, it will make poor people happy.
The trickle-down theory does not work.
Yes, but it's still the theory that they're operating under. And so they gave trillions and trillions to the rich people, and it did not make the poor people happy, but that's what they're still doing. And that's the reason this recession, we didn't come out of it like in a normal recession. That's why it's gone on and on. It was the worst recession, of course, but it was also by far the longest one.
Yeah.
And still going on for us.
Isn't the definition of insanity doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results?
I don't think they do expect different results.
Because they keep making money.
The truth is, Bonnie, and we've concluded this here on the Workers' Beat many times, that they don't care.
Yeah, that's very obvious.
Piling up money for the rich is the end, the aim, the goal. That's what they wanted to do. And it's what they did, and it's what they're still doing. And
what are they going to do when they got all the money?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, what are we going to do, I guess? We just, well, see, my whole thing is,
that's what got
this
us.
ain't going to happen.
Yeah.
Because we have to stop it.
Yeah, people will have to do something about it. Until people do something about it, it's not going to turn around.
And that means stop voting against your own best interests.
Yeah, people are going to have to vote, and they're going to have to do more than vote. They're going to have to start coming out.
Well, you have to
marching and protesting, writing letters to the editors. You know, all the different forms of political activity.
And know what and who you are voting for or against.
But in the past, prior to say 1980, when Reagan was elected, then when we had a recession, it'd be followed by a lot of public spending, and then the recession would taper off, and then we'd have another period of prosperity for working people. But that's not happening in this case. And the jobs gap is about 6.6 million jobs. Let's see. In November of 2013, the labor market had 1.3 million fewer jobs than when the recession began in December of 2007. That's 1.3 million fewer. Now, during that period, they should have added 6.6 million jobs. So counting the jobs that were lost, plus the jobs that they should have added, we now have a shortfall or a deficit of 7.9 million jobs as of November 2013.
And you know what's really sad? Productivity is higher.
That's all in these 13 charts that they put out.
Wow.
Productivity has gone up 109% since 1968. If the minimum wage had followed productivity, if it had gone up as more wealth was created, then they would have given more of a share to working people.
Right.
So instead of $7.25, which is what it is now, the minimum wage would be $18.30. Okay. If we had gotten a fair share of the increase in our productivity.
In our own productivity.
When they say productivity, they mean workers' productivity.
Right.
They take
not
the
poor
amount,
people, not rich people's productivity, because all they're doing is sitting back counting the money.
They take each worker, how much wealth they produce in an hour. They figure out how many workers there are and how much wealth was produced, and they say one worker produced this much wealth in an hour, and then that's how they figure productivity.
And this is how much money they took home.
So the minimum wage would be $18.30 if it had followed productivity.
Man.
And you've seen other figures showing that the minimum wage is way, 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 way behind. I got a letter this week from some phony group pretending to be economists explaining why an increase in the minimum wage would not help any poor people and why it would hurt them. So it said, don't you agree, send $50. And I wrote back, you give me the creeps. I mean, I cannot understand how a human being
can think like that.
Can turn his or her back on the suffering of millions like this.
Millions.
And then make up some phony excuse for not doing anything about it. It is so shameful and so disgusting.
It is disgusting. I mean, how do these people wake up and do they... And I don't get it, because every morning I have to look at myself in the mirror and I have to like what I see. Mm-hmm. And if I had that kind of an attitude, I don't think I could look at myself in the mirror.
I don't know. I guess you get so much money, you get somebody else to look at themselves.
You
pay somebody else to look at themselves in the mirror, I guess.
There you go.
You hire Kim Kardashian. You look in the mirror, or somebody like that. I don't know. 972-647-1893. You don't have to listen to Bonnie and I. You can call
in and talk to us.
Have people listen to you.
That's right.
972-647-189.3.
Wow, that was good.
1893. Well, I'm looking.
972-647-1893.
Okay, in November 2013, there were 5.7 million missing workers. What do they mean by missing workers? This is people in the workforce who could be looking for a job that are not.
Because they gave up.
Well, they gave up. They moved back home.
With their parents.
They found some way to go back to school, on student. And, of course, student debt is going through the ceiling.
It's crazy.
So they had to borrow money to go back to school. If they were looking for work and therefore counted as unemployed, the unemployment rate in November 2013 would have been 10.3%, significantly above the official 7.0%.
Well, you and I have talked about this before. We both believe that the employment rate is truly a lot higher.
The unemployment rate,
I'm sorry.
Is much higher.
Much higher than what is actually reported, if you will.
And Texas has an even lower figure that came out this week with a 6.1% for Texas. Even that's 2.1% higher than it ought to be. But Texas' unemployment rate is not as high. However, at the same time, Texas leads the nation in lousy jobs.
Yeah, isn't that great? Yeah, we got jobs here, but they suck. We'll be right back. We got the blue-collar blues.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get us outfits, Bonnie, and you and I are going to become backup singers for rock and roll bands.
Cool.
We're going to have really sexy outfits, too.
Oh, boy, that should be exciting.
I hope you like pink. 972-647-1893 is the number, and several people have called. Let's put somebody on.
Frank.
Ed's on line 1.
Let's
put Ed on line 1. Okay. Thanks for calling KNON.
Good morning, Gene and Bonnie. How are you?
Good morning. Great. How are you?
I'm doing fine. I wanted to back up and then move forward because I wanted to just briefly comment on the issue of race, but also want to talk about that as kind of an interplay in terms of some of the economic issues that y'all have raised and raise each week as far as that goes. As far as the first point goes, I think it's safe to say that racism can easily be identified in Dallas. It can be identified, of course, throughout the old Confederacy, but also in other parts of the country. And I think it's hard to have those conversations for many reasons. But one of the theories I have is that the thing the 60s did in this country was make it unpopular to be known as a racist. Therefore, people work off the assumptions that they can't possibly be a racist, even when racism is a part of their mentality in subtle and not so subtle ways.
Right.
And that makes the conversations hard. It gets very complicated because nobody wants to be named
a racist,
and they don't have their stuff named by somebody else.
Right.
So I think they have to come to the table with openness to say, who am I really, and how's my soul with that? And I just think that's a hard place to get to.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And so, therefore, cities and leadership, leaders in cities can go about making decisions, and because they haven't really examined their souls and hearts and haven't had any honest intellectual conversations, policies that they set can be racist, even though they would be shocked if they get named as such.
Yeah. Right.
And on the other hand, African American brothers and sisters clearly know when they're on the end of racist policies.
Right.
And then white people tend to say, "Oh, really?
Didn't notice that."
Oh, I didn't know that.
Could hardly see that.
I just had no idea.
I think there's a part of that's this willful ignorance is what I would call it.
Very good. Yeah, you're right.
Well, I appreciate your view on that, Ed.
Thank you, Ed.
Anything else?
Well, and then the second part is that in terms of the economic policies in which we live, it's also true that African Americans always feel the pain of the system that benefits the privileged and deprives the poor, and they have to live with those conversations of pulling yourself up by the bootstraps, which almost no one ever does.
And almost no one ever did.
That's true. That's exactly true. So policies truly do impact the African American community, and again, because historically, racism's at work, conversations at work, minimum wage jobs, which minimum wage never gets lifted, education opportunities are hindered. The whole class system is stacked against the poor, and particularly minorities.
Right.
Both, Latina individuals and African Americans, they really they fill those policies because economic opportunities that we claim exist within our system get withheld in particular from those communities. And so,
absolutely, do.
That was just my remark.
Okay.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, Ed.
Hope you have a good holiday season.
Thank you, sir. You too.
Let's go ahead with Frank. He's been waiting. Thanks for waiting, Frank, and thanks for calling KNON.
Frank, you got to turn your radio down, sweetie.
Absolutely. That was just my remark. Okay. Appreciate it, Ed. Hope you have a good holiday.
Frank, turn your radio down.
Go ahead, Ms. Frank.
Yes, sir. I've got a question for you.
Okay, go ahead.
I stumbled onto your station here, and just curious, my wife and I, we started a little business. Granted, we were dirt poor, but we always had this dream of doing a little bit better and being self-employed, so we opened a restaurant. But
good for you.
Economics, I was just curious if you could explain to me, my wife takes home about $35,000 a year out of this little business. But we are our own boss. We pay all the bills, and we've got an employee, but we can only afford to pay her $15 an hour.
Uh-huh.
And most weeks she makes more than my wife. So I'm just trying to figure out the balance of economics, where all of this is going to lead in reference to the person that wants to try to make a living.
Sure.
And wants to feel the proudness of having a business, etc. Sometimes we have to cut back this particular person's weekly hours, that type of thing, so that we can make it and keep our lights on. So I'm just trying to figure out how, if you can explain to me how the balance works here. I would appreciate it. I'll stop now.
Okay.
How the balance works.
Well, first of all, I commend you for opening your own business. Second of all, I commend you for actually paying your employee a living wage. You, sir, are among the minority. Most people who have their own businesses do not pay a living wage. They let their employees get by on minimum wage or less. In the case of servers in restaurants, that minimum wage is only $2.30 an hour. But you are paying this person that works for you $15 an hour. I commend you for that. I think that's wonderful. And if more people were like you, we wouldn't be in the mess that we're in now.
Yeah, and if people would patronize Frank's restaurant, then this other employee could get 40
more
hours.
hours. That's right.
That would be good. I think that what Frank used the word balance, and at first I didn't get it because there's no balance in our economy.
No.
But I think he's saying that there is a balance in the way he's doing things.
Right.
That there's a balance of his regard for his customers, his regard for his wife, his regard for his employee is evident in what he said.
Absolutely.
And I think that there is balance there, and that's very commendable. And I think a lot of people would agree that some kind of balance in our lives is what we really would really like. But as you know, Frank, that isn't what's going on with Walmart. The Walmart family has piled up 40%.
42%.
42% of the wealth of this country.
That's right.
Is now held by the Walmart heirs, the 6 Walmart heirs. And that's just one of many statistics.
That's right.
In which the balance has gone way, way, way a kilter.
And
we've been talking all through this that the reason for the recession being so deep and so wide and having lasted so long is that all the money has piled up in the hands of banks and corporations. It is literally trillions of dollars in cash that has not been put back into the economy. And
enough to pay off the national
jobs.
debt.
Now, Frank's restaurant, I'll bet if more people would come and eat at Frank's, we should have told us what kind of food he served.
I know, right? Because then we could have found out
make a little more of a pitch for it.
Right?
Isn't that interesting? He's so unselfish, he didn't even give the address.
The address or the name of his business. There's
a guy who is not looking out for himself.
That's the real deal.
Well, anyway, if they were doing it the way Frank's doing it, they would have been reinvesting that money.
Right.
And the recession that we're enduring and suffering from
wouldn't be so long.
Would be gone.
Yeah.
And people would be out buying Christmas presents like crazy right now.
Because right now, Frank and anybody else who's out there, the average wage of a Walmart worker is $8.81 an hour.
That's the average?
Yes, sir. That's the average.
Because a lot of them make less than that.
Oh, a lot of them just make minimum wage, $7.25. But the average across the board is $8.81, and the most that you can make at Walmart as an occupational person, non-management, is $15-something an hour.
Well,
that's top pay.
If they could get 40 hours a week, though, I bet they'd
sure, if they could get 40 hours a week, it'd be much better.
Let's let Randy talk. Good morning, Randy. Thanks for calling. Line 2. Hi, Randy.
Good morning. How you doing?
Morning,
Thanks for calling, brother.
Hey, Frank is one of the few people that, like you were saying, that basically has a conscience.
Yeah.
He didn't ask the federal government for no money for his business. I'm sure he went through the same law as every other business did.
Well, he could have gone to small business.
Not if he was in business. Then.
Sure.
He could have gone to Small Business Administration. I don't know if he did or not, but anyway. Go ahead, Randy.
Well, he could have, but he probably didn't.
Right.
Because Frank sounds like he's pretty solid, and he's being blessed. So here's my situation. You know what? Frank's people are far and few between, and the reason is because the other businesses that are involved in getting money from the federal government know that the federal government is trying to hold down the poor people just like them. So that's why they're in cahoots together.
Well, wait a minute, Randy. Doesn't that kind of fly in the face? HUD is giving all this money to Dallas, and now they're complaining that Dallas is not using it in an equitable way. So,
hey, Gene, isn't it exactly like you were saying a month or so ago when a gentleman called in and said, Walmart did this. I used to have a kids camp, and I did this, and Walmart gave me money. And
you remember that? Yeah.
Remember that conversation? And Gene, you told that guy, I don't care how much charity Walmart does for any individual, they're still screwing us all. So that's the same thing, Gene. I don't care what HUD is trying to do. The whole core of it is still trying to screw us. Why? Because it hasn't gotten so bad that we as citizens are going to stand up, be willing to stand in the rain, be willing to get water hosed, bit by dogs, actually probably lose some of our lives. It hasn't gotten that bad yet. So that's why Gene and Bonnie, I'm going to ask you something straight up. Both of y'all have a bank account.
Yes.
Okay, and do you put your money, when you get paid, into that banking system?
I just get Social Security, and it goes in directly. But anyway, it goes in the banking system.
So you have a bank account where your Social Security check is deposited, just like my daddy's bank account is.
Yeah.
But do you go immediately and take your money out of that bank and stick it in a jar in your house?
No.
Nope.
Well, actually, I have been lately. I just kind of pour it into my contractor's pocket. I don't know.
Bonnie, but you're on the right path. You don't leave your money in the banking system more than 6 hours. So why? Because they're making money off of your money.
Right.
Yes,
mine goes in one door and out the other. That's right.
If we continue to put money into that banking system, then we're creating the funds that hold us down. So we got to stop putting money in the banking system, and we got to do what we know is right, is quit buying the products from the system that's screwing us. Quit going to Walmart, even though it's cheap and you think it's saving you money.
It's not.
It's not. To stop.
Well, they're not.
Whatever, 40-something% is held by Walmart.
42%.
But why is it held? Because all those people are going in there today.
Yep. You're right.
You gotta stop.
I
Just
get
say
it.
no.
Right? Just say no.
But you have to buy something from somebody.
Well, yes, of course, Gene. You got to buy something from some. Okay, here's the question. Here's another thing. We're saying that HUD tries to bring people into different better developed communities that have grocery stores, and things that people need to survive, right?
They try to get equal housing patterns or some fair housing patterns or something.
Right.
In better communities, right?
Yeah.
Well, how about we build all the communities? I mean.
So what I'm trying to say is that's a weird way to go about it when us as the poor people should be down at the city council when Kroger's or Albertson or whoever wants to build a grocery store, a real nice super grocery store over in Uptown.
Yeah.
We say, sure, you can build that store, but you got to build one over here in South Dallas also.
That's a good
we
point.
would be looking at that angle, then we would need to take the poor out of the poor communities and put them in a community that has the things that make a family sustainable.
I'd rather make
all just Walmart.
The city has the power to do that too. I think.
And I'd rather have those grocery stores in my neighborhood than have to move.
But Jane, the city will not do that unless we, as the people, force them into do it. We bring it. We come there every.
The Fair Housing Act prohibits this.
Whoa!
You know what I'm saying? We stop buying Walmart.
Stop buying Walmart.
That motel. We don't go to that motel that they built down there that me and you can't afford to go in, but we try to tell our friends that can't afford to go in it, don't go there.
Okay.
Okay.
All right,
our friends.
All right, Randy.
We're the people that are wealthier than us. Those are the people we need to talk to and say, look, y'all need to quit supporting these people that are screwing you and me too.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Randy.
Merry Christmas.
972-647-1893. He was talking about the way that grocery stores are distributed, but there's really there's a better example of how racism has been perpetuated, and that is in the placement of schools. Ooh. Because they started off in 1954 saying that separate but equal was not going to work and that they therefore had to integrate the schools. And they went through a period where they were busing children from one school to another, which brought the parents out in droves,
Yeah.
Then they started magnet schools, which I have always considered to be a sham and a disgrace as a way of getting around
public schools.
Getting around desegregating.
Yep.
But what I did notice at the same time was that when they built a new school, they could have built those new schools in the transition zone between, for example, a black neighborhood and a white neighborhood, and then nobody would get bused, and the new school would be equally accessible to both neighborhoods. But they didn't.
No.
They went right on placing the schools under the idea of community schools. They put them in the middle of communities that were already racially divided, segregated, and therefore went right on perpetuating racism. You would have thought, since 1954, what's that, half a century, you would have thought we would have integrated the schools by now simply by the placement of new schools.
But let's remember,
but they
Gene,
didn't do that.
That's right. Let's remember that Dallas fought hard against desegregation.
Yes. Well,
and kept and I think we're under federal order until just a couple of years ago regarding schools.
Just very few years ago.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, is there racism in Dallas?
And the way they did it was so shameful.
Oh, it's horrible.
With magnet schools, because see, essentially, it's the parents that makes a really good school.
Right.
It's not the color of the students.
No.
It's the parents. And by setting up these magnet schools, they sucked all of the best parents into those schools.
Right.
So there was nobody left to complain at the rest of the schools, because all the parents that were going to demand really good education got it in the magnet schools.
Yeah,
and
they left
everybody else.
That's right.
Left everybody else to go ahead and suffer the same kind of segregation that they had all along.
You know, I do see some improvement. Pleasant Grove has got 5 new schools. Mm-hmm. We have the lines have been redrawn for city council districts, so they do make a bit more sense. Where, just for instance, Rick Callahan is the city council person for Pleasant Grove. Scott Griggs is over there for Oak Cliff, and they're not spread out.
Those are battles that were fought and were won.
Yeah.
And one of the battles that was fought, that's been fought for the last, ever since '54, I guess, was won this past week. And Nathan Bedford Forest High School is going to change its name. They named it after the head of the Ku Klux Klan.
Oh my God!
The general who carried out the massacre of black soldiers at Fort Pillow, and the Daughters of the Confederacy fought to keep that name, but they are going to change that name. And so not everything's not bad. We'll see you next week. We'll look forward to seeing you. Thanks so much.
Have a great holiday.
KNON 89.3 FM in Dallas and Fort Worth, the voice of the people.
Business owners, tell KNON's listeners about your business. You can put your business or event on KNON. KNON currently has space available to run announcements for you. Tell KNON's listeners about your goods, services, nightclub, concert, or event. Help keep the voice of the people on the air while putting your information on the air. KNON's been named the #1 radio station in Dallas by both the Dallas Observer and D Magazine. Put your business with Dallas's #1 station. Call now for more information at 214-828-9500, extension 227, or extension 233. For more information, go to KNON.org and click on the Run Spots on KNON page. It's a great way for your business to support community radio while letting more people know about you.